This is a conversation with Esther Prussian, director of the Detroit Service Group, on February 18, 1975. I'm Walter Klein.
The organization actually began in Boston, where I live, in my hometown.
It was before you came here for that visit.
Right. And I worked during my school days.
When you were at home with your
At home with my folks.
Yeah.
And I worked during my vacation, holidays and so forth. And one of the positions I had was for the American Jewish Committee, which Louis Brandeis was chairman.
How did you happen to get in with him?
Someone told me about this position that was available, and I went up for an interview, not knowing who was at the head of it or anything about it. And I was interviewed, and my approach was very negative because I didn't want to work for Louis Brandeis. He was a pal of my brother's, and he used to refer to me as Aaron's kid sister.
That's no biggie, is it?
No. But I did get involved. She said that would work out fine because we only need a part-time worker. I told her I didn't have much experience. She said, well, you won't need it. It's a new organization. It's run by volunteers primarily. And now we're going to have a fundraising meeting and they need some help. So I became involved in that way. And later the People's Relief Committee moved in, and the Central Relief Committee moved in. They finally merged.
Brandeis was already on the Supreme Court, wasn't he?
No, he was a lawyer.
Or just a lawyer?
The name on the door said attorney at law, and in the corner said insurance. That was his. It was in the same building with this organization, the American Jewish Committee, and I became involved with fundraising. And
did you have much contact with the Brandeis?
No, not really. Not really. I didn't see much of him. He worked sort of behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And the first fundraising meeting, they were very well. They're quite excited about the big speaker that we're getting from Detroit, David A. Brown.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
And I didn't know anything about him. It didn't mean anything to me. But this was all the flyers went out, David A. Brown. And it was a very successful meeting from that point on. I worked part-time.
This was fundraising for the American Jewish Committee at that time.
Right.
Well, what were the issues? What were they? What issues did they emphasize, and why did they need the funds?
Well, it was the foreign relief.
I see.
That was what it was. And then when the People's Relief moved in, they did the collection among the masses, door to door. Central Relief among the synagogues. And they thought it was great duplication of effort, which there was. And they merged and formed the Bureau for Jewish War Relief and got a professional fundraiser.
This was strictly for overseas relief.
Yes.
After World War I.
That's right. And I worked with them for a while, and my folks, meantime, I moved to New York. And my sister and I remained in Boston. We didn't want to go to New York. And then she planned on getting married and make her home in Detroit, where I already had a brother living. And I went to New York on a visit and came here, just for a visit. And while I was here, my brother-in-law mentioned he knew of a job. He said, until you make up your mind whether you want to go back to Boston or New York, I was living here, why don't you take it? Well, the attractive part of the job was the salary. I wasn't interested in the job itself. It was for an automobile club. But I took it because, as I said, the salary was very attractive. And meantime, I've been hearing the name of Fred Butzel. People kept telling me, Fred Butzel, you want to get to meet him. He's a unique personality. He's interested in the same kind of work you're interested in.
This was 1924.
About. Well, it was the latter part of 24. And one day I had occasion to go down to City Hall. I looked across the street and it said National Bank Building. First National Bank building. It occurred to me that's where Mr. Buster had his office. So I called him on the phone, and I introduced myself, and I said, someday I'd like to come up and say hello to you. He said, where are you? I told him, he said, I'm already across the street. Why don't you come over? So I said, gee, he must be a neat guy. He's a busy lawyer. I didn't know that was a sideline. And asked me to come over. I went over, and I met him. He had a way of taking down your case history, you know. What did you do? What are you interested in? All that. And he finally wound up saying, you know, we have a man here from Boston. He's the new director of the United Jewish Charities. And he's planning and conducting the first Jewish campaign in Detroit in 1925, next year. Yeah, I bet he could use you. I said, well, maybe so. He said his name is Morris Waldman. Well, I worked with Morris Waldman in Boston on those Federation campaigns. And I didn't know him. We were friends. Well, I was going down to see him because he could persuade me to do anything. So I thanked him. He said, well, if you want any help in getting a job, you decide to stay here. He says, call me up. And I thanked him, and that was all. I went back to the office, and I got a telephone call from my sister. Can you take some time off such and such a day? And I said, why, what's doing? She said, well, the Charlotte Sisterhood is having an annual meeting, and they've asked me to sing. And she said, the women have been so nice to us since we've been here. I'd like to accept, but only if you will accompany me. We had an arrangement. She accompanied me, and I accompanied her.
Oh, I see.
So I said, well, I'll accept. I said, I can take time off, I'm sure. So the day came, and this Charlotte was over on Brush, I think.
Well, Brush and Willis, yes.
Yeah. And we went over there, and she sang. I accompanied her the speaker with Morris Waldman.
Oh,
I thought it was okay. And afterwards, he said, he never called me Esther, he called me Ruth. My middle name is Ruth.
Oh,
Somehow or other, the people in Boston used to call me Ruth. He said, you're my Ruth Prussian, and I am angry you didn't come to see me. So I explained to him I was there only here on a visit, and I was just working temporarily. Well, we made the date, and he said, come over and see me. He says it isn't a very nice neighborhood. It's High Street near Hastings, in the Hannah Schloss building.
Oh, that's the Jewish Institute at that time, am I right?
Called that, well, either that or the Hannah Schloss building.
Uh-huh.
And he said, it's not a very nice neighborhood. I'll meet you. We'll have lunch together, and then I'll walk you over to the building. I think we ate at Greenfields or Saunders, something on Woodward near High Street. And we chatted, and he told me that he was going to have the first Jewish campaign. He says, you know, I'm a stranger in town, and I have got time to work on this. He said, I'd appreciate it if you'd work with me. And I told him that I wasn't at all interested in staying in Detroit. Well, we wound up, what he wanted was somebody to compile a list of prospects. And he said, remember, I can't give you much help because I'm a stranger in town. You'd have to work on this. He said, I want the name of the 2,500 top Jews in Detroit with their identification, or their religious identification, their trades, professions, their organization affiliations.
Well, how'd you go about getting that?
Well, you know, I didn't take the job.
Because you were a stranger, too.
Sure.
Yeah.
But he said, and the salary was very low. And he said, can't even pay you that. I have to go to fellows like Henry Wyman and Fred Buxer, Julian Crowley, and get advance on the pledges to pay you your salary. But it wasn't even a fifth of what I was getting. I was getting a very good salary. But the prestige of working with Waldman was meaningful to me. And it was sort of a challenging thing to try to get prospects in a community where you don't know anybody. Yeah. I thought it would be great, and I was going to live with my sister, so maybe I could work it out. So I took the job on a temporary basis, of course. Well, my first question was, where will I get a list of the organizations and congregations, social clubs? There wasn't a thing in that office there was a switchboard operator and he had a secretary. That was it. And they had a piece of stationery with the United Jewish Charities and the officers, and that's all.
That was the whole
That was the
campaign
whole
structure.
works. That was the whole works.
Uh-huh.
And I immediately made contact with Henry Weineman, Wolf Friedman. I don't know how he got in the picture. Julian Crowley. Who else?
Fred Butzel, I suppose.
Oh, Fred Butzel. And they gave me the names of presidents of the congregations and some of the organizations. And the first man I went to see was D.W. Simons, who was president of the Shark Center.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Somebody told me that was the best membership list to get. So I got that. And I had contact with the community fund, known as community fund then, through Julian.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that I could go through their records and get their giving history. You know. Well, I started with that list, and I went to the temple, and I went to Sidney Alexander gave me the Knights of Pythias, the Perfection Lodge. Joe Ehrlich gave me some of the organizations that had small building funds, like United Hebrew Schools and all this. And I got together a list of 4,500 leading Jews, and all their, and we established headquarters in the General Necessities Building, campaign headquarters.
Where's that? Where was that?
It's on Park Avenue,
Oh,
right near Adams.
Mm-hmm.
That was Dave Brown's building, by the
Oh, I
way.
see.
Apsapure.
Mm-hmm.
We had a switchboard operator, another girl that helped me, and fellow who handled what we now call Metropolitan Division.
Mm-hmm.
Process didn't fall in any trade profession and organizations. When we went to work, we raised, Henry Weineman was the chairman of that campaign. I think it was called the Emergency Fund.
Mm-hmm.
We raised $150,000, about 2,700 contributors.
That was just largely by personal solicitation.
And the only thing I knew that was by sitting by trades.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was a great success. $150,000, 2,700 contributors. That was a good number of prospects.
How did it work, Esther? Did these individuals you named take a group of prospects and?
So we got a group of workers, and we did it by trades, and we assigned them, and didn't work out too well in the minds of some of the people, because they felt there was a lot of duplication of effort.
Mm-hmm.
They felt the lawyers were going into the same buildings where the doctors were, and that could be done by one prospect.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I didn't agree.
Mm-hmm.
And the next campaign, I guess they wanted to do geographically, but they went back to the trades.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the campaign was over, and I was through with my job, and that was it. And Waldman came to me, and he said, he says, I have a camp up north in Maine. That's where I spend my summers. And now that we've gotten these pledges, we have to have a collection campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked me to stay on for the collection program.
No.
Well, I wouldn't let him down, which I did. And when he came back, we moved from high school. That was a terrible neighborhood, by the way. I sat in a one room where there were 3 or 4 social workers, including Esther Appelman.
Mm-hmm.
There was Esther Rosenstein
Yeah.
then.
Uh-huh.
And I had a little corner in that room, and they used to interview their clients. It was not a good situation. And the family agency was there with Mrs. Lipson, was in that building.
Yeah.
And there was a big gym, there was a big barn, and it was a very, very rough neighborhood. They finally moved to the Penobscot building. They took the whole floor of the Penobscot, and the family agency moved with us.
Oh, I see. The agencies moved too.
Just that agency.
Just the family agency.
And all the social workers sat in one big room. I had a space there, and there was a switchboard operator. And Waldman came back from his vacation, and he told me the good news that we're going to have another campaign, a United Jewish campaign, for 3 years. From 1926, 27, 28. And they're going out for $600,000. And wouldn't I stay on? Well, I was getting kind of used to working in Detroit, and my mind wasn't wandering back to Boston as often as it did. And I made him understand it was still a temporary job because I knew I'd be tied down. So we went through with that campaign. I guess we raised about $740,000.
3 year period.
Yeah. And which became a collection problem, as you can understand. People dying, moving, and so forth. And then they, at the final meeting at the Phoenix Star, Dave Brown was there. And he said, it's a shame to disband this beautiful organization. And every year it's a struggle to develop a campaign organization. I'd like to see this organized into a permanent fundraising organization. That's where we started the Detroit Service
That's the
Group.
beginning of the Detroit Service Group.
That was in 1926 at the Phoenix Club.
Which was then on John R.
And
around Columbia. Or,
no, John R. and not Rowena.
well, I think the building is still.
Oh, sure, it's
yeah.
still there. And they elected Sam Summerfield president. They did the elections right then and there, and there was a great deal of excitement. And of course, they asked me to be the director or secretary, whatever they call it. But there was a great deal of enthusiasm and excitement. And that's where the service group was born.
What was the staff then? Was it still you and Morris Waldman?
And at
now
that
you-
point, we had someone in the booking department to help with the collections. I forget who it was. Then we moved on to the Penobscot building, 51 West Wall.
That's where the community chest was.
Right. And by that time, the family agency was in that building with the Children's Bureau, Jewish Children's Bureau, and our organization. And this was 1928 when Waldman decided he was leaving.
He was succeeded by
John Slauson,
Oh yeah.
Dr. John Slauson.
Yeah.
And Henry Wienerman and Clarence Inglis came to me and asked me if I wouldn't please stay on with the new director, who was not essentially a fundraiser. A very brilliant man, and but anyway, they sold me a bill of goods. I guess I was easy. And
Well,
by
you must
this
have
time,
wanted it.
no, the salary was terrible. Always was. But I know there's certain prestige connected with it that I enjoyed, and I enjoyed working with the people I worked with. And John Slauson came, and it was a little difficult adjusting to him. He was a human dynamo. And Waldman was very suave. It was quite a contrast. And the first thing he confronted me with was, what do you know about fundraising?
This is Slauson asked you.
He said, I never heard of a girl doing fundraising.
Oh.
He says, I want you to map out a fundraising organization, chart it out for me. So I became an architect, I do a plan for an organization. He thought I knew what I was talking about, I guess. So we went with it. Unfortunately, the 1929 campaign was not a success, and that was his first campaign.
That was the first bad year, wasn't it?
And besides being a bad year, the leadership was not around. They were in Europe. And we had to deal with what we had left, which wasn't topped. It was a fundraising tool. And that was a great disappointment to John Slauson, his first year.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And the second year, 1930, he only stayed a couple of years, and he left. Then we had Kurt Peiser.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, he was a different personality altogether. And he didn't like the whole setup. He was going to revolutionize everything. You want to come through here?
Esther, what was the Jewish community like when you first came here? You know, where did they live? Who were the leaders? That kind of thing.
As I recall, when I first came here, the people were gradually moving away from the east side.
By east side, you mean
I
Hastings
mean,
Street?
Farnsworth and those streets, Columbia. They're moving toward the northwest, like Burlingame and Hamilton and those areas. And the leaders were Henry Weinland, Fred Butzel, Junior Crowley, Abe Sreary, Joe Ehrlich, Will Freeman, and Gertrude Weinman, of course. And the Anguses, Clarence and Maury Angus.
Now, I gather these were people who had the respect of a lot of...
Right, and most of them were identified with Temple Bethel.
Yeah,
They were the...
Was Judge Freeman was Shard Sedek, wasn't he?
Judge Freeman and Abe Sreary were Shard
That's right, Abe Sreary, yes.
And Joe Ehrlich.
Yes, of course.
But the Anguses and the Butzels and the Weinemans, they were all Temple Bethel.
So congregationally, you'd say there were like two leading congregations in those days.
And the social club was the Phoenix Club. That was the club.
And was there still a carryover of the old German Jewish leadership in those days?
Yes, of course.
Esther, you didn't have much exposure to the work of the agencies. You mentioned the family service.
No, my exposure was not with the agencies as such.
Yeah.
Very distant away, outside knowing something about their objectives. I didn't get into their activities at all.
On the issues of the campaign, chiefly, again, support of the local agencies and overseas
and some of the national agencies.
Well, national agencies, yeah. I know, Esther, that you have some knowledge, maybe more some inside activity on the creation of the Home for the Aged and the Jewish Community Council.
Yes. I was very much aware that the Jewish community was clamoring for a new home for aged. And there was a committee organized representing the Landsmannschaft mostly. I think it was a committee of 21.
Which were then the important groups in the community.
Right. And Myron Keyes was chairman of this group, and they met periodically to develop the idea of a new home for aged, which finally came into being. And as a result of this group, the organization of this group, the community council developed.
And out of the Home for the Aged?
Out of this committee of 21.
What was the logic of it, or the sequence of events as you saw it? Well, in other words, what's the community council got to do with the creation of the Home for the Aged?
Really not. It was the committee that was responsible for the creation of the council. It worked the other way. The council was responsible for Home for Aged.
No, I understand that.
It was the Jewish community decided they wanted a platform, and this was it. They organized the Jewish community council.
And you're saying it's the same group that originally was working for
primarily,
the Home for the Aged.
Primarily.
Was Simon Schetzer active in this?
Oh, yes. Yeah. He was one of the leaders of the group.
Mhm.
I think he was their first president.
He was the first consul president.
President, yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What about Sinai Hospital? I think you were present at the creation of that too.
Yes. Well, of course, there was a great deal of pressure on Community for Jewish Hospital. And in my early days, I recall that the Hebrew Hospital Association turned over its funds to Federation as a basis for creating this Jewish hospital. And then at one point, there was a item included in the campaign for the building of a Jewish hospital, and the statement was for the Jewish Home for Aging.
But this came quite a bit later, didn't it?
Yes.
After the war, after the Second War.
Right, right.
Mhm. So I think I've read somewhere that there was also quite a bit of resistance to a Jewish hospital idea. Am I right in that? That there was a split in opinion on it.
Yes, there was, but it was soon cemented. And we went out for the campaign and created a great deal of interest among certain groups, of course.
Yes. So, Esther, I guess nobody's had a longer or closer association with the Detroit Service Group than you've had. Why was it started? What purpose did the Detroit Service Group serve?
Well, the Detroit Service Group is actually an outgrowth of the 1926 campaign. The final meeting was held at the Phoenix Club. At that time,
the initial meeting or final meeting?
the final meeting
I see.
was held at the Phoenix Club. It was David A. Brown as chairman of the meeting, and it was at that time Mr. Brown suggested that we develop an organization on a year-round basis so that we would have a nucleus of workers for future campaigns. The workers accepted the idea very enthusiastically, and it was at that meeting they formed the organization known as the Detroit Service Group, the members of which were the workers in the campaign. Sam Summerfield was elected president, and I was asked to serve as secretary. The purpose, of course, being they would be the fundraisers for campaign for the Jewish Welfare Federation, as well as the community in town.
Well, with that, what we now know as the Detroit Service Group did work within the community fund also. Is that what you're saying?
That's true. That's true.
Kind of the Jewish solicitors in the community fund.
At that time, the Jewish solicitors were soliciting the Jewish prospects.
I see.
Because they were more familiar with them than the non-Jewish workers.
And I gather this part of it just went on for the 2 or 3 years that the Jewish campaign was in the general campaign.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, whatever the period was, I think it was 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
Getting back to the service group, Esther, would you say it accomplished its original purpose?
Oh, I would say so. Many committees were created, such as campaign planning, elections, program membership extension, and later we developed what was known as the Welfare Council, which was divided into divisions comparable to the fields of service of the participating agencies of the Jewish Welfare Federation. This educational program proved to be valuable in...
What did you have, like programs showing the work of the agencies?
Right, and in which the members participated in the developing the program and in the discussions.
And this was something like, this went on all the time.
Well, this went on for several years, and then acquainted the workers with the work of the agencies from which they were raising funds.
Also, they knew the product they were selling.
Correct. Well, they were super salesmen who now were familiar with the product they were selling.
And this was called the Welfare
Council. And that was part of the Detroit Service Group as an educational program.
And that gradually evolved into something else, or was dropped?
Well, it was dropped, and we concentrated more on organization later on than we did on education.
Did you find that you attracted a considerable number of people, like to the Welfare Council?
Yeah, well, we found that the solicitors were anxious to know more about the product they were selling, and they became involved in numbers. And I think it was the decided advantage.
Esther, do you see any new structure that's in the offing?
Well, there were changes in structure all along the way to meet existing needs. We are now proposing a further change, which would streamline the organization and make for a smoother and more effective operation. Since the Six-Day War, and more so since the Yom Kippur War, we found that the campaigning was more intensive and extended over a long period of time. And of course, this meant more meetings. And the workers, we found that the workers could not attend all the meetings that were necessary to maintain the interest in year-round organization.
You're saying that some of the workers they'd go to campaign meetings and the service group meetings?
Right.
Their own section meetings.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we are now suggesting discontinuing the trade and professional divisions on a year-round basis, but that they maintain their representation on the Service Group Board and also on the Board of Governors of the Jewish Welfare Federation. I believe that the Detroit Service Group is a valuable asset to the organized Jewish community, and as we approach our 50th year, I hope we will continue to serve the purpose for which it was originally organized.
Well, you're right. It is mighty close to the 50th, isn't it? We're talking together now in June of 1975, and when in 1976 it will have hit the 50th anniversary. Thanks very much, Ms. Prussian, and on behalf of the committee.
Before I close, I would like to express my appreciation to William McGovern, Executive Vice President of the Jewish Welfare Federation, for his professional guidance and understanding, and to his predecessor, Isidore Sobolov, for his direction and friendship. And to Saul Dr. Sam Cohn and the wonderful staff of the Federation, my thanks for all their help in this. And of course, my sincere gratitude to that wonderful army of workers with whom I've been fortunate to have been associated. And Walter, my appreciation to you for making this interview possible.
Again, well, I can't speak for them all. I think they're all saying thank you to you, too.